Hello, welcome. Welcome to another very short devotional. Like I said in my last video, my name is Liz. I am trying to post daily devotionals every weekday for the next couple of weeks, and I wanted to share with you another devotional I wrote last January or February. So I'm filming this devotional right after I filmed the last one. In the last devotional, I read to you Colossians 3:14-15. And now I have a very short devotional for you, Colossians 3:16. So this is a good follow-up to the last devotional I put up. If you want to turn to Colossians 3:16 with me, I'll give you a moment. I have it right here. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly, teaching and admonishing one another in all wisdom, singing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs with thankfulness in your hearts to God. Here's the devotional I wrote in response to that verse. It's very short, so I'll read it to you quickly. When I started reading the Bible a little bit every day, my perspective shifted and changed. I felt that when I felt anxious, I would remember to call upon God and pray more often throughout the day. I would remember bits and snatches of my readings, and it would help me refocus my mind on better paths of thought. As someone who is habitually anxious and a lot of a worrywart, keeping my mind's eye trained on the light is a daily battle. Some days are better than others, but when I allow the Word of God to dwell in me richly, it becomes easier to come up for air, to let God take the reins, to hand over the worries that make me feel like a pack mule. Then a beautiful thing happens. When I allow God, His Word, and prayer to become the center of the day, the worries slink away. Then there's so much more room in my mind and heart for the fruits of the Spirit to grow and flourish. More moments of thankfulness and gratitude and God's joy. What richness indeed. So yes, like I said, very short, but just a quick word after finishing that. Like I said earlier, I wrote these a year ago. Ever since I think last September or October, I started carrying with me a small personal size Bible in a little pencil bag, and maybe in another video I will show that little pencil bag to you. And in that little personal size Bible, I marked my favorite passages, I marked some of my favorite psalms, and I underlined them, and I tabbed them so that I could find them really easily. I really try to keep it with me at all times. And what I have really liked about that practice is I know that we all have our phones, we all have the ability to have the Bible app on our phones and be able to read the Bible and listen to the Bible at any point in time, but I really like having that small physical Bible where in these moments where I'm feeling anxious and it's really difficult for me to shift my perspective, it's really nice to have that tactile reminder and actually physically flip to a page that I can pray over myself and have that pause, have that tangible, almost interruption to my anxious thoughts, and have that opportunity to have that switch in perspective. A good example of when I was able to do this is yesterday. I was at work. I have really been trying to focus less on my anxious thoughts and focus more on praying without ceasing, and I caught one of those little thoughts fly into my mind, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna let this rule the day. I got out my little pencil bag, I pulled out my Bible, and I just flipped a random passage I had tabbed, and it was a psalm, and I forget which one it was. I think it might have been Psalm 139, and I read it, I prayed it over myself, and immediately I felt better. I instead of giving into those thoughts that if I think too much about them, they can really just overtake me. Instead, I shifted the focus and really was able to connect with God in that moment and ask Him to help me as I continued on with my day. And, whatever works best for you. You don't necessarily have, I'm not saying like, and now you have to go out and get yourself a little mini prayer Bible. If you do, that's great. But I think that just praying and asking God for help and for ideas for what might be able to help carry you through and help the Word of God dwell in you richly. And like the verse says, I can read it again. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly, teaching and admonishing one another in all wisdom, singing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs with thankfulness in your hearts to God. I think just asking God to help focus on thankfulness in your heart and asking God to help you find the ability to let the word of Christ dwell in you richly. Because I think sometimes these aren't necessarily things that come naturally. I do think that oftentimes I need help focusing on keeping God the center of my day. But the wonderful thing is that I don't have to do that by myself. I have God to help me with that. That's the whole point. But I think sometimes it's easy to lose that perspective. I think that's all I'll say about this very short devotional that I think after I jibber jabbered on for a while, I made it long again. But thank you so much for joining me this morning. I pray that God may keep you and hold you in the palm of His hand and protect you and keep you safe. And thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you again tomorrow.